how to construct a square. I'm going to do it at least 2 different ways, maybe 3. We'll see how we get with time. So first I want to get a geometry sticky. I'm just going to click somewhere, open my sticky. I'm going to make it bigger just because I know I'm going to use a lot of space here. So there we go. And another thing I'm going to do up here where the 3 dots are, I'm going to turn off auto labeling because I don't really care about the labels at this point and they're just going to get in my way. So when we're in the screen, one of the things that's cool about ClassPad.net is I can have students actually draw. When we say draw, please do draw. So I'm going to say, okay, everyone draw what you think a square is. So they can actually come in here and draw something they think is a square, and we could talk about it. We could have them measure angles. And the neat thing about ClassPad.net is you could actually then take that drawing, select it, and adjust it to actually be a square. So now it is a square. If I measured those angles, they'd be 90, all those types of things. So all my students would have drawn a 4-sided shape. I could immediately make a square. However, these are not set. So it's a square until I move a vertex. So when we say construct a square, we mean when you construct it, it maintains its property no matter how you drag it. So one of the easiest ways to construct a square is to actually use this idea of congruent sides. So squares have all sides congruent and they're perpendicular. So one thing that we know guarantees congruent length is a circle. So if I construct a circle here, I know that the radii in this circle, no matter where I draw them, are always the same length. So that right there, I have some congruency. So if I construct a segment, let's just connect these 2 points with a segment, right? I have a radius, and if I construct a radius anywhere else, I know it's going to be the same length as this one. That's part of knowing my circle properties. So I want to construct another radius, but I want it to be perpendicular because that's another property of a square. So I'm going to now use my construct menu to construct a perpendicular. And it's a little hard to see because my screen's small, but if I were to click perpendicular, it tells me what I need to do. It tells me I need to select a point and a segment. So let's select a point and let's select a segment, and it's drawing me a perpendicular, okay? So I'm going to click on a white part of the screen, and now let's construct another perpendicular. So let's construct a perpendicular here. So I now have 2 perpendiculars. That's part of what I need for a square. And now I need radii. So I have either this one I could draw or this one. Let's make the intersection of this circle. So we're going to use this radii. So I know this radii and this radii are congruent, right? So now I just need this 4th side of my square that I'm making. I could do perpendicular again, or I could do parallel. Let's do parallel since we haven't done it. So what does it want if I am going to do parallel? Actually, let's click on a white part of the screen again. Whoops, I'm getting a little crazy. Let's go back to our construction menu. So if I want parallel, again, it tells me I need a point and a segment. So I want it parallel through this point and parallel to this segment. And there's my parallel. So if we kind of hide this little piece right here, and let's zoom in. I now have a square. I could get my polygon tool, and I'm going to, there we go. Let's make this just a little bit bigger. There we go. I'm going to get my polygon tool and actually kind of outline my, and actually what I think I might do first, I'm going to select those 2 and just put that intersection point in there. So let's get our polygon tool and actually outline that square I've created by following the vertices, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, and I need to connect back to my last one to actually have my polygon. So there's my square, and if I adjust this original one back to being regular, right, I have 2 things that look like squares, but the difference being, and I may want to hide a lot of things, so why don't we just do that? You can hide things that are your path, the constructions that you use, so all these things, I don't actually need them anymore because I have my polygons, so I'm going to hide them. I selected them, and now I'm just going to hide all those things I selected. So there is, and I forgot a point, but that's okay. So there's my square. This one, as I move it, is going to maintain its properties. Now it's a little slow. Again, remember we're in beta, so it adjusts, but it adjusts back to a square. So it maintains its properties as I adjust, whereas this one, which was just done as a quick adjustment, not as a set adjustment, it's not going to, well, it's not going to stay a square because it was just an adjusted four-sided figure. So construction versus draw, nice visual example there. Now I used a circle to make a square. I could have done it many other ways. Another way to do it is to think about transformations. So I could have started with a segment, and I want all my sides to be congruent to that segment, and I want all of them to have perpendiculars at their angles. So what I could then do is think about my transformation menu right here. So I want to, let's go here. I'm going to use rotations. Okay, so I want to rotate. And let's remember, I have my little thing. It tells me to select objects. So I want to rotate this and this. And now I have to select a point to rotate around, and I have to tell it a degree. So I want 90. So there I have rotated one of my sides. Now I could just keep doing that. I could say, okay, let's select this object, and I want to rotate, and I'm going to select a point to rotate around, and I'm going to select 90 degrees again, and then we could keep doing that, right? So rotate, I want these two. All right, so I want a rotation, and I want it to rotate around this point, and I want it to rotate 90. So now I have another square, but it was made completely different than the first one I constructed, right? So some ideas on creating squares. So have fun playing with ClassPad.net.